Don't you know that I can make it? Shoo-boo-boo-boo-boo. Shoo-boo-boo-boo-boo.
When I feel like giving up and I feel like giving in, all I gotta do is stand on his promises. 'Cause he won't let you down, he'll turn it all around. So say, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Say yes to his will.
What's up, everybody? We'll be getting with you in just a few minutes. You got to take care of a few housekeeping things. Figured I'd give you something cool to listen to. My boy Brian Popin. That is definitely a message that we try to take, that you can make it. You can go ahead and move around a little bit. That's one thing about it, man. We don't go around with a message of you might can make it. We tell them you can make it. Yeah, so we're going to get started here just another minute or two, probably less than a minute. Just wanted to open it up with a little bit of encouragement. Yes. And just understand this, man. You're listening to, in the background there, gospel recording artist Brian Popin, right? And I've known Brian Popin since the early 90s. Yeah, no magic die on this one no more, Dr. Dunlap. I've been knowing Brian Popin since the early 90s. Now, let me just give you guys a tip here for those of you who do lives and stuff like that. Brian Popin is a gospel recording artist, performed at the Potter's House all over the globe, a gospel recording artist, multi-award winning. That's what he does for a living, right? We do not use people's music on any of our platforms or our lives without the express permission of that artist, or else we use music that we pay to have created to have the copyrights, and or we use copyright-free music or soundtracks. I see some people come on and they're playing music in the background, and that's a no-no on social media unless you're doing like TikTok, which I don't have a TikTok account, but I think TikTok allows you to do that. But any other platform, if you don't have express permission from that artist to utilize their music to be playing it while you're live, you can't get out of jail free card use I don't own the rights to this music. That is not a legitimate bypass to use music that is not yours, that you've not either paid for or got express permission to use. So on the openings of our show, on our podcast, that song we started using back in 2020. I have the actual whole write-up. I put it in the chat there so people could see it. That came directly from Brian Popin Ministries. And so when we reached out to them, it was during the height of the pandemic, and we said, hey, listen, I've known Brian for many, many years. He don't remember me, but we did ministry in the same place. And then he did remember me, so that was kind of cool. But he used to travel with Donnie and Reba Rambo, McGuire, I mean, like all over the country and around the world. So when I reached out to him, it was during the height of the pandemic. As you know, artists and people who earn their living by being in person took a really hard hit. So I reached out to him. I said, hey, listen, can I kind of populate and get people interested in Brian who may be in our audience and listening area? And his folks reached out back and said, yes, but you need to make sure that you let them know this narrative. And so we do that anytime we use Brian's music. And I would suggest that if you can't get permission to utilize an artist's music, this has nothing to do with recidivism. I just wanted to tell you that if you can't get the express written permission and consent to utilize a professional artist's music, and you're on a social media platform that has copyright restrictions, don't get yourself sued by using people's stuff. Either get permission or pay someone to create you your own original music, or use copyright-free material. All right? There's just a tad bit of social media, kind of education and etiquette, because I still see people posting stuff with music playing in the background, in particular on Facebook, because Facebook's very tight about their copyright restrictions, and they'll put a narrative in there, I don't own the rights to this music. That doesn't get you out from being sued. that is whoever created that thought process that we could just post that is wrong. So that can get you sued for copyright infringement, because it's not just enough for you to say, I don't own the rights to this music. Well, most probably music you play, you don't own the rights to. But you have to get express permission to utilize it on a social media platform that requires copyright permissions. So thank you, Brian. And I'll probably tag him in this just so he can see that we haven't played that song in quite some time, right, Greg? It's been at least a couple years, maybe a year or two. And that's right. We told you now. You heard it here first. So if they showing up at your door because you playing music and you thought you could just say, I don't own the rights to this music. you don't you ain't gonna own the rights to a whole lot of other stuff too. So tighten it up, okay? Brian Popin is an amazing man. Yes, Greg said get prepaid legal. Brian Popin is an amazing man of God. Travels all over the world, like I said. And when we reached out to him, he was very, very kind. His team was very kind to respond to us and say, hey, listen, give people an opportunity to help support Brian's ministry. Let them know the ways that they can support it. And please put that in the communication when you use his music. That's what we did, and that's what we do. So anyway, I want to talk to you today. I was on I did 2 interviews this morning, and it was just this afternoon. It was a great time up there with my dear friend and sister, Maddie Cheers, the sister of our great, great friend, Celia Kibler, and we love and appreciate both of them. Now I got 2 for the price of 1. And Celia, we need to get you on the show. You need to go ahead and book yourself like soon. Like I really need to get you next week. I think we have Niecy Jordan next Thursday, and the rest of our schedule is clear. I believe it might be good for a Monday or Tuesday, Celia, if you can get on to talk about screen time with our kids. That's a great. She's been doing a series of reels about screen time for your kids. And, man, you need to listen to that. I like to do a whole show on that. So, Celia, if you're still on, you're in next week, next Monday. Next Monday, are you talking about Monday, this coming Monday or the following Monday? Like the 29th? Because I don't know what's happening that week. We'll talk. If you can't do it tomorrow, a Monday or Tuesday of this week, we can still swing it. I like to start the year out with this conversation. I know we're already 20 days into it. I meant to tell you, hey, look, we need to do this because it's a very important topic. I believe we're raising up the generation of the screens. Now, I'm not horse and buggy, stone and chisel guy, but man, not Maddie. See, I knew it. Celia has uncovered a large amount of data. She's a child expert and parenting coach, and she's giving out tremendous nuggets about being aware of screen time. So just let me know, Celia. You can message me or whatever if we can do a show together. I would like to highlight this narrative that you've talked about, and in doing such, I think we can help some moms and dads. Probably help some moms and dads and kids, but help the moms and dads too who suffer from screen time. We need a screen time anonymous. Like everything else. So here's the reality. I just got off a podcast. In the second half of the podcast, I got to talk about Stay Free, the Stay Free movement. And it is number one, I told Danny last night, Greg, that we're going to have to get Stay Free copywritten because we don't want it to be mixed up with any other thing, right? Less people get it twisted. This is 2 words, Stay Free. We're going to get that trademarked. It came about by when we were doing our sessions in the Craven County Jail, which we still do every month. We went around the room asking men, what's your purpose outside of this room? And a gentleman named Ishmael said, to stay free. 2 words. And Greg can testify, I ran around the jail screaming and hollering because I said, you know what? We sometimes complicate things. Now, I know there's a lot of indenture things up under there, but we sometimes complicate things. Well, I got to make restitution. I got to do this with Uncle Billy that I hurt and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Brother, the first thing that you need to focus on is your freedom. It's like that in any other organizations, whether it be Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, any of those types of organizations that's you got to focus on the main thing first. The first thing is to not do drugs, right? Now, the hows are relatively important, I'd say. How are you going to do that? And what we have been studying and seeing, see, it first just started because we wanted to do something more. Then when you go, you start getting attached to these total strangers that you don't know, have nothing in common with them, have no relationship with them at all. Then you start giving your books away to them, and then you start showing up with banners and flyers, and the news starts carrying it. And now here we are, 19 months in to Stay Free, and we're like, man, we've been studying on site. We have been on the job training at Stay Free. What are some reasons why people cannot stay free? What are some reasons why? And I want to tell them to you so you'll better understand. It's not just one silver, but what they need to make the better choice in their life. That's easy for us to say when we're outside chilling at the crib on this cool January afternoon. But it's another thing when you have some of these roadblocks facing you. This is why we realize that we are just one of the ingredients. I think we're a missing ingredient because I see correctional facilities roll out a bunch of programs, and if programs were it alone, you could take a wheelbarrow full of programs into an incarceration facility, dump it in the middle of the floor, and say, these are your keys to freedom. Handle it. And then don't talk to those folks again until it's time for them to punch out. But programs alone are not enough. Here's how I know. Because what was it, Greg? Was it 98%? 90%. It was 90% of all folks who are incarcerated in all of the states in America will at one point become free. So it's only 10%. Hopefully, don't judge me if my numbers are off. I knew it's a high percentage. I think it's 90 and 10. It's only 10% or maybe 8%. That's what it was, Drake. It was 92% will be free one day, and 8% are doing life. I can only come and encourage them, but I can't give them any keys to success outside of the iron doors because they're never leaving. 98% of them, 92% of them will be free at some point. So that leaves us with just about 8% that are in for life. You understand? Get it? 92% will be free at some point. 8% will remain incarcerated for the remainder of their life. Okay? So of the 92%, let's just deal with round numbers. Of that 100% of the 92%, how many of them can stay free? And the data shows us around 60% in North Carolina can stay free. So 40%, upwards of 40%, will reoffend. And I'm just like, we can't beat our chest and wave the flag of victory for a 60. You know what I'm saying? We can't continue to say, man, this is working when it's just 60%. I asked the gentleman who I brought this statistic to, I said, hey, listen, what if you found out that 60% of the time that 737 MAX would land successfully, but 40% of the time it won't, or there's a possibility of it crashing? Would you want to get on that plane with a 40% chance of it not successfully landing? So when you look at 60%, that ain't nothing to write home about. You know what I mean? We need more funding. We need to pay people more. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to do this. Well, I've been hearing that for the 19 months that we've been there. And there still seems to be a very sluggish movement of the needle when we talk about bringing this number associated with recidivism down. There's even this cloak of, what's the word? When you're just satisfied, it's like, Okay, that's cool. That's just the way the system is. We're just okay with it being a 60-40 split. We're just okay. Why is this? That's good. That's a good question, Celia. Why is it okay to disrespect human life so much? And I've put this out there, and I've seen some who have said, well, they did the time, they got to do the crime. Let me tell you something. When I go in that jail, and Greg is right there with me providing security, when we go in there, that's the word. Yeah, it's mediocrity, lethargy, just kind of like, kick the can down the road. I've just got to get my gold watch and retire, because after all, it's an $8 billion industry. Right? Why stir the cart? This is the way it is. This is just normal. I would not accept that in aviation, but we would accept that in human life. That we haven't stopped and did a hard stop to analyze why 40+% just in my state. There's states that have 50 and 55% people that return back in. What is it that we're okay with? Those not, well, it's the human choice. It is, and that's why I say when we go into that place, I do not talk to those men and women with sugar. I talk to them with love, but it is not sugar. It is anything but sugar. It is salt. In fact, most of my public events, I couldn't say what I say in there. They have become like real friends, Greg. You're right. I told him this. I'm like the jail pastor here, even though we're not doing church services. There's this fellowship. There's this congregation of people that I asked them, who else shows up for y'all like this every month? No one. And we did studies. What other incarceration facility in North Carolina has someone show up of my profession every month? None. Not the 50+ correctional facilities, not the 100 counties. Chip Hughes, the sheriff of Craven County, is the only sheriff that said we want to try something different. Because when we sat down with him, here's what he said. He said, we don't want them back. We'll find. I'll go get another occupation if they clear out the jail tomorrow. But unfortunately, the wheels of crime continue to spin. COVID didn't even slow crime down, y'all. But he said, Sheriff Chip Hughes, the Honorable Sheriff Chip Hughes in Craven County, he said, listen, we don't want them to come here and feel like this is their final destination. We want to equip them with everything possible, and we want them to feel uncomfortable a bit while they're here so that they can get out and stay out. Yeah, man. The great Miss Melissa Oakley hit the nail on the head. You talk about can't fix a problem that kills their profit. Now let's not mess with the cash cow. And listen, I have to be this is my feelings, but if it was all just left up to my feelings, I'd be in a mess. So thank God I don't operate exclusively in my feelings. I understand that it's a bureaucracy. I understand that it's big business. I understand that it fuels economies, crime. I told those men and women in my last session with them, what is it? $323 million goes into the coffers, and the tax dollars, the taxpayers have to foot the bill. It's about $40 per North Carolina resident for people who reoffend. For people who reoffend. Did y'all know that? $323 million for folks who get out and can't stay out. So what's some reasons why? One of the reasons why is for a lack of rehabilitation programs. Limited access to effective rehabilitation programs within correctional facilities can hinder an individual's ability to address the underlying issues that they came in there with. You got to get to the root cause of your criminal behavior, yo. Hey, Niecy, love you, superstar. My cousin Niecy is a Hollywood actress. She just need to cut a brother a check so I can go to all the jails and I don't have to worry about if they can pay me or not. But we don't. I heard it at the North Carolina, what is it called that I went to earlier this year, Greg? The North Carolina reinstitution. It's something where we're talking about helping people get back into society from jail. I forget what the R word was. I can't remember right now. But I went to that thing and they said, here's what we do well. They said at this conference with people and wardens from all over our state, they said, we do this really well. We house inmates. That's what they said they do well in the correctional facilities. We house them. It ain't hard to put up a steel wall that's impenetrable, lock the door, and feed that person 3 or 4 times a day. Let them out for an hour and rinse and repeat. They said, we do this really well. But the other piece is we don't. We don't get to the root cause of why somebody was in there. And that's one of the reasons why people repeat. I'm telling you, I'm giving you 10 reasons why. One of them is for the lack of rehabilitation programs. You want to know another one? The economy. Unemployment and economic struggles are real, yo. Difficulty finding employment upon release can lead to financial instability, increasing the likelihood of reoffending, as individuals may resort to criminal activities for survival. Yep, I can't find a job, or I can't get hired because, whatever my crime was, larceny, DWI, whatever, right? I have this. I talked about this with the men and women this past week or this past month. You get a yellow passport that follows you everywhere you go, that reminds everyone of the crime you committed. And so you go back to these impoverished areas, or you go back to areas that are bustling, but you can't get employment. And how long should we expect you to fast and pray and until your belly turns inside out? How long are we supposed to expect you to trust in the Lord with all your heart? How long are we? That's cool. And I believe in trusting in God. But there's got to, like Dr. Dunlap said the other day, you got to walk this thing too. You know what I mean? You got to walk this faith walk. And unemployment, listen, money does not bring happiness. But the Bible does say money answers all things. Let that window pane envelope show up and you don't have money. That's right. Miss Oakley, yes, lack of opportunity for qualified and profitable employment, even if they have an education certification or with degrees. Let's look at another one. The lack of education and skill development. So we say, hey, man, you did your time. You did 90 days, 123 years, 5, 7, whatever the case may be. If you do a long period of time and you get out, things have changed. Like, I just upgraded to the iPhone 14, from the iPhone 7. I was 7 phones behind. I was 7 phones behind, and I just have been putting along because I just am cheap like that, right? Imagine somebody who gets out of jail or prison who has seen when he went in that there was payphones and gets out and there's no payphones anywhere. How much society is ever racing for change. And inadequate education and skill building opportunities during incarceration may leave an individual without anything, without the tools for lawful employment, making reintegration into society challenging at best. That's number 3. The lack of education and skill development. Man, knowledge is power. That's why I study so much stuff. I study things that nobody is interested in, just so that one day it will fit right in that moment when I need to be getting on down the road, speaking to people, right? knowledge is power. And when you say something that nobody was expecting, or they didn't expect you to know that, they're like, oh my goodness, he's waxing so poetic. Powerful. Pay that man again. Yes. Well, it's true too for knowledge. Knowledge is power, and knowledge opens up doors of opportunities in a lot of cases. Not in every case, but in a lot of cases, knowledge and education can open up. Because watch this, we can get you some knowledge, we can get you some education, and you may not go out there and get hired. You may go and start your own business and do six figures like that. I know several folks that have done that. Had one of them on the show a couple months ago. He's a six-figure earner and did 12 years in prison. So it's possible. But knowledge is power, and the lack of education and skills development while they're in. So what are we doing with them? We're just hurting. We're just keeping them sitting there, just biding time, putting tick marks on the concrete wall till they get out. Boy, that brother in his rare form today, ain't he? Substance abuse issues. We know that substance abuse is powerful and it's real. Unaddressed substance abuse problems can contribute to a cycle of criminal behavior, as individuals may resort to criminal activities to support their addiction. And we got to understand that addiction is doing bench presses on the outside of the jail barbed wire, waiting for that person who struggled with addiction to be released. And if all we do is make them clean for the 60, 90, 120, or even a year, but if we're truly not seeing that this person has been rehabilitated and, you know, they're living a clean and sober life now, that they see the value in it. They want to do it for themselves, not just, they don't want to live in the fear of failure, but they recognize that their life clean without substance abuse is so much better than their life polluting their body. If we do not make sure we turn those people back cleaner than when they came in, the trigger will happen, and it will, this is what causes the cycle of the revolving door. Substance abuse, mental health challenges. Now, listen, I have a thing. I might do a whole week series on mental health challenges and the mental health and psychological services in communities, because I've been in some circles recently where the parties needed some psychological and mental health services, and the wait can be 4 to 5 months, if not longer, to get in front of a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Why is that okay? I'm going to break my arm, and you're telling me that I can't go to the doctor for 3 or 4 months because there's none available, or the backlog is too long, or the wait list is too long. That's okay. We wouldn't dare accept that for a broken arm. But for somebody who's struggling with mental disorders, we're okay with just leaving them flounder. The lack of mental health support and treatment, both within and without the criminal justice system, can lead to individuals to struggle with untreated mental issues, which can directly contribute to recidivism. That's number 5. Number 6. What are some reasons for recidivism? Why are people returning? Because I am no longer just a guest in the jail. I think I told them I belong here. There are people fighting to get out of those places, and I'm fighting just as hard to get in them. Ain't that right, Greg? Now, Greg stays close by the door because he said, man, look, one of us got to get out and tell the story. We say that jokingly. But truthfully, we are fighting hard to get in the place that most people fear of ever going. Now, think about that. Inadequate support systems. Do you know that support is important? It is very important. Inadequate support systems. Limited family and community support can leave individuals feeling isolated, increasing the likelihood of returning to criminal activities for the sense of belonging. You know, that's why gangs were so popular in the 70s and 80s, 60s, and even now today, because folks are looking for a sense of belonging. And perhaps maybe they didn't receive a connection. They didn't have a mom or a dad, or there wasn't a community that help them. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a powerful thing. Well, you just got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Man, okay, I hear all that. I done heard it and I done did it. But let me tell you something. Community and support systems are essential to help. If you're going to give these folks a fighting chance, don't throw them back out there on the sea and on the sand and say, go find your spot in the sea. They don't even know how to swim. Here's why it's happening. Because they don't have no support. And some of it may be their own fault, Greg. Some of them may have hurt people when they were out. Some of them, they have been in the revolving door so much, people are tired of hearing, I'm sorry, and this is I'm going to change. They're tired of it. So they don't have a support system. But does that mean that they don't deserve support? Does that mean that they're not entitled to support? Does that mean that we shouldn't care about support? I know Sheriff Chip Hughes does. I know people like Benita Bernie Simmons does. They're in Craven County with my sister's house. Yep, support. And so since I can't open my house up and, create a halfway house, I said, well, Greg, we can't, they won't come to us. We'll go to them. We'll show them that somebody on the outside supports them. That is why Stay Free is so pure. Because there is no ulterior motive. There's not a whole city of news crews waiting for me and Greg when we come out of those doors and they let us out. I mean, we've been there 19 months and only one news channel has done a report on it. So it's not like it's TikTok famous to be going into a county jail to inspire people to stay free when they get out. Criminal environment, going back to a criminal environment, man, I'm telling you what, changing the environment is important. Returning to a neighborhood or community with a high crime rate may expose individuals to negative influences, making it difficult to break free from the criminal associations. Is that not true? Right? So you get out, you go back to the hood where everything's popping and socking. You can't find a job. It's just a process of elimination. King said, don't give up. King said, no matter the adversity, you still can make it. King gave me a copy of his book. I can do it. And how long will that last? Sometimes you got to extract yourself from the thing that caused your stumbling. Sometimes you got to remove yourself. Now, I've told them something radical like this in the jail. It's better that you go somewhere and live in Tent City till you get on your feet than to go back to the crib where all this bad stuff is happening and find yourself in short order back here. Because the homies that you rocking with out in the hood, they ain't doing the time for you. Oh, man, them my dogs. They ain't doing the time for you. They didn't say, hey, judge, let me stand in his stead. Let me go do his 7 years for him. Nope. And so when you look at environments, we got this is what I'm saying. This is a multi-layered situation. And that's why I look at it like a cake. And Stay Free is just one ingredient. But I feel like we're an essential ingredient. I'll tell you at the end why. Next is stigmatism and discrimination. This is why people repeat offend. Societal stigmatism and discrimination against ex-convicts, people who've been convicted, can create barriers to reintegration. That's what it was. That was a conference called, it was on reentry. Leading individuals to feel rejected. Why even try, man? And increasing the likelihood of returning to the criminal lifestyle because they've been rejected. They've been stigmatized. Man, I am so open with those men and women in the jail. It's probably almost too open. I tell them where they can find me online. I don't tell them where my house is, but I'm like, hey, I'm an open book. I'm a public figure. You can find it. You really just try hard enough. You can know a little bit, almost everything about me. And I don't hide anything from them. I don't act like I'm so Mr. Perfect. We don't talk like I'm the executive and they're the steerage in the bottom of the boat. No, there is no difference between me and them except for the thin line of getting caught. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. I told them this past week, man, the 6-foot depth that they get, I'm going to get. Michael Jackson got. Greg Smith will get. LeBron James will get. It will not matter what your crime is. Just they will not give you a deeper depth the greater citizen that you are. Whew, Jesus. And so we don't go in there and see orange jumpsuits or pink jumpsuits or striped jumpsuits. We don't go in there looking like that. For the men, I am in direct contact with them. I'm like amongst them, like on the floor. They're sitting at tables, and I'm right in the middle of them. And I go by them, and I put my hand on their shoulders when I'm talking. I'll look them in the eye. I'll get down right in their face. I'll pat them on the back. I'll give them daps, shake their hand, and let them know, I don't care what your crime is, brother. I didn't come here because of your crime. We came here because we care. You know, we had in the yellow passport message I just delivered there 2 weeks ago, we had every one of them write down their criminal offense, what they were convicted of. It's pretty telling. Had them put all their crimes on a little slip of paper, and then we put them all in my hat. We shook them up, and we pulled them out, one crime at a time. Larceny, breaking and entering, DWI, DUI, on and on and on, right? The list goes on. But all of them are going to get out one day. All of them will be free. And I gave them a different passport. It wasn't a passport about detailing their crimes. It was a passport about what their future as a free citizen will look like. The reasons why men and women offend are varied. But if we're going to ever chip into, if we're ever going to raise this above 60%, then my goodness, we got to do better. 2 more. Institutionalization. Do you know that contributes to repeat offenders? Did you know that? I don't believe that the jail or the prison should be the Hilton. That's where I go when I travel. But I don't think that you should be in the Hilton. Sheriff Chip Hughes, Greg, and I agree that it should not be the comfort and all the pleasantries that you had outside of the steel door. Right? And you need to reflect on some of the inconveniences that are here. Institutionalization can drive people to repeat. Did y'all know that? Long periods of incarceration may result in institutionalization, where individuals become accustomed to the prison environment, making a transition to conventional living challenging. Right? It shouldn't be the Hilton. And I told them this last week. Remember, Greg? I said it was because of the down pillows that y'all have that you came back. Or it was because of the 5-star caviar that they fed you that you came back. Or it was because of the nice, beautiful lighting in the facilities that you came back. Whatever it is, it wasn't bad enough on the inside for you to stay away, so you just had to come back in here. Oh, that's the way we talk to them? Yeah, that's the way we talk. Because we family up in there. And you got to get them to think, man, look, was it better on the outside? And if it's not, while you're here, let's position you to have a better life on the outside. I mean, like, surgeons who are getting ready to perform a surgery don't just go and say, okay, what is this patient? What are they here for? They're already under. The doctor has no clue what they're there for. Oh, sir, you got to replace the right ventricle. Oh, okay, got it. Scalpel. Do you know that they strategize, game plan the surgery in depth? There's consultation, there's review, there's case study review. There is an exhaustive trial. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to make sure that this is not going to end bad. And so while we have you here, what should be happening is the same type of analysis that says, hey, look, Billy, this is your second go around with larceny. What's the problem? Man, whatever. You're stealing because you're an addict. Well, then we got to get to that root cause. Why are you an addict? Here's where we can get you plugged into for the next 6 weeks. When you get out, you going there. You're not going back out on the street. And we're going to deal with this drug problem. Right? So then that's game planning the person's problem. It's deinstitutionalizing them and humanizing their struggle. Man, come on, y'all. I ain't a warden. But we spend $8 billion a year in North Carolina on jails. Why are we doing this? Last one. Last reason why people reoffend is because of poor release planning. I do not feel that if we are utilizing this much funding for incarceration, that it's just a mere issue of put them in here, lock the door. When they're able to escape, let them out. When they're ready to be free, let them out. When their time is up, get them out, put them on parole. Until then, lock them in here, no human interaction, let them just stay there. They did the crime. Listen to me. A release strategy is almost like a flight plan. The only way that a big iron bird, a 747, is going to get up off of the ground and slip the bonds of earth, the only way it's going to happen is through planning and a strategy. The flight crew, the captains, one does a walk around, and then they do a planning session in the cockpit. This is the speed in which we'll abort. This is the speed that we look to take off. This is the first turn. This is the altitude. It's a strategy. It's a plan. They don't just come, get in the plane, the engine's already fired up, they're on the runway, push a button, and bam, it goes. It's a choreographed, detailed strategy. That's why planes usually land the first time successfully. Inadequate preparation and planning for reentry into society, including insufficient post-release support and supervision, can lead to individuals not having the resources and guidance needed to navigate a law-abiding life. Well, that's on them. They need to figure. That's where we are in society. That's what we do. That's why we're the only group showing up, because some of y'all think that way. We refuse to think that way. I mean, if you're spiritual, you would read in your Bible what Jesus said, when I was in prison, you visited me. He made it important not to talk about food, clothing, imprisonment. And we don't go in there and do church services. We go in there and deal with the real issues that these people face. These human beings, these brothers and sisters, these men. I tell the men they're kings. I tell the ladies they're queens. I don't ever refer to them as inmates. We're just one ingredient. But here's why I feel, and I'm going to close. Here's why I feel stay free is the missing ingredient. It's because all of those other things, you have to be able to pull something from within to take advantage of them. Right? I and Greg are trying to show these men and women that if your mama and them ain't there, if your parole officer ain't there, if the system lets you down, you still have what it takes when you wake up in the morning and look at that person in the mirror. You're not getting more hands. You're not getting 2 more feet. You're not getting 4 eyes. You're not getting 8 ears. All that you have in your possession is what's required to be successful. We try to get them to believe, ladies and gentlemen, in themselves, when maybe perhaps nobody else will. There's some men and women that we've talked to that have been there the whole 19 months we've been speaking. And every month that we show up, it's like a joy. They love it. We can't speak it hard enough. They want it raw. They don't want no sugar. They want it, give it to us straight. And guys who used to hang out on the fringe edges now sit in the center. The women, they're up top and down below in their rooms, and they listen intently, scream and holler when we ask them to. But it's got to start while they're locked up. It's got to start with a belief that no matter what's the outside looking like, I got enough to defy the law of failure and succeed anyhow. With the help of God, these 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 eyes, and 2 ears, I'm going to do it. And if that cannot be shaken, nothing will shake them. Because we see history shows us there have been people who rise up out of economic trauma and are hugely successful. We see people who have been institutionalized and come out and turn the world upside down. We see men and women who don't have fathers and mothers, et cetera, and still find a way. How did they do it? They believed in themselves when nobody else would. But I tell them that there's 2 more brothers in your corner. The 2 cats that keep showing up like 2 Kirby vacuum cleaner salesmen, Greg Smith and CL King. Right, Greg? We ain't selling Kirby's. We're selling hope. And we're not selling it. We're giving it because it was freely given to us. Hope this helps you realize why people repeat and why stay free is kind of extremely essential. It's essential in my opinion. Stay free is essential. It's got to be in every jail. It's got to be in every incarceration facility. And we get told no a lot. That's all right. We'll just go on to the next one. Then after you forget, 3 or 4 months later, we'll come knock on your door again. All right, y'all. Have a great afternoon. Stay free. Talk to you soon.